All right, gamers, buckle up, because this deep dive is gonna hit different. We're going in on why so many big-budget games are, well, flopping. And it's got me feeling like my controller just died mid-boss fight, you know?
Oh, tell me about it. It's like the loot boxes are full of disappointment lately.
For real. So we're cracking open this YouTube video essay by real-life fake wizard. It's called Why Are Video Games Failing? And let me tell you, they get real.
They do. And I appreciate how they define failure right off the bat. Because a flop for a game developer hits different than it does for us players.
100%. Like, creators pour their heart and soul into these games, so for them, failure might be seeing their vision get lost in the machine.
Right. And then you've got the publishers, the ones holding the purse strings.
The money people.
Exactly. For them, it's all about those sales figures. Did it sell? Did it meet their, what are they called, projections?
Projections, yeah. And it feels like those two sides are constantly butting heads.
Totally. But then you bring in the third group in this whole equation.
Yeah.
Us, the players.
The ones who just want a good game. Something worth our time, our money, you know?
Absolutely.
And this video essay calls out this idea of an imaginary audience. Like, some games feel designed for players who don't even exist.
Yes. And that's what I found so insightful. The video argues that studios are chasing after this phantom gamer instead of,
Instead of listening to the people who are actually invested.
Yes.
So give me some examples. How does this imaginary audience thing actually play out in, like, real games?
Okay. Think about Visions of Mana.
Oh, boy.
Right. I mean, Secret of Mana, that was a classic. Charming story, addictive gameplay, the whole package. But this new one, it felt like it was trying to bank on nostalgia, but it just felt hollow,
Like a loot box with just a bunch of common items.
Exactly.
Instead of that legendary drop.
It's like they missed what made the original so special.
So are you saying they were designing for an imaginary audience who just wanted more of the same?
Kind of, yeah. It's like they were checking boxes instead of recapturing that magic.
And we can spot that, We as players, we feel it when it's not there.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, remember Skull and Bones?
Yeah.
Years in development.
Yeah.
So much hype. Total flop.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, it felt like they were trying to ride the coattails of Sea of Thieves.
Oh, yeah.
But they missed what made that game sing,
Right. They tried to capture the look, but not the soul.
Exactly. And speaking of missing the mark, what about Suicide Squad? Kill the Justice League.
Oh, man. Don't even get me started.
That felt like a whole different kind of imaginary audience problem.
How so?
It was like they were trying so hard to be edgy, to be different, that they forgot about the fundamentals of a good game.
Okay, yeah.
Like tight controls, engaging combat, a story that makes you actually care.
They went for style over substance.
It's like they reinvented the wheel, but the new wheel is square.
And bumpy.
And bumpy. So, okay, we got to talk about Conquered, because that one seems to be the poster child for, well, whatever is going on in the gaming world these days.
Oh, Conquered. Yeah. That's a head-scratcher, for sure. Big budget, big name developers. Cool premise.
Right. It seemed like a surefire hit, but then...
Crash and burned.
It did. And I think a big part of it was it tried to be too many things to too many people. It was like they were scared to commit to a vision,
So they ended up with a game that lacked focus.
A jack of all trades, master of none situation.
It's like going to a restaurant with a million things on the menu. You're bound to be a little suspicious, right?
Exactly.
Like, do they actually specialize in anything?
Right. Pick a lane.
Exactly. And I think that lack of focus, that lack of a clear vision, it translates into a game that just feels uninspired.
And ultimately forgettable.
Which is a shame, especially with all the potential some of these games have.
It is. And, another thing that came up in the video was this whole idea of gamer expectations being too high.
Oh, yeah.
A YouTuber even called out that Ubisoft CEO for saying that.
I remember that. And it felt, I don't know, a little out of touch, especially with how expensive games are these days.
Seriously. Games aren't exactly a cheap hobby anymore.
You're a luxury at this point.
Exactly. People are having to choose between buying the latest game or, like, paying their rent.
We're buying groceries,
Exactly. So, yeah, expectations are going to be high.
Especially when you have these incredible indie games coming out, often at a fraction of the cost, and they're delivering these really tight, focused experiences.
Right. It makes you wonder, like, how are these smaller studios doing it with, like, a fraction of the resources?
Right. It's the question, right?
It is.
And, the video essay doesn't just point out the problems, it also offers a potential solution.
Okay, I'm listening.
And it all comes down to us. the players.
The power of the wallet.
Exactly. We hear it all the time, but this video, it really drives the point home.
What do you mean?
That we have so much power as consumers, like more than we realize.
I mean, I get that in theory, but the gaming industry is massive. How can one person really make a difference?
That's the thing. It's not just one person. It's all of us.
Yeah.
Every single purchase, it's a vote. A vote for what?
For the kind of games we want to see.
Okay, I like that.
It's like, are we going to support more of the same, or are we going to demand something better?
So what are we supposed to do? Just not buy games we don't like?
It's more than that. It's about being informed, you know? Reading reviews, watching gameplay footage.
Doing your research.
Exactly. And if a game doesn't seem like it's living up to the hype or to your expectations, you have the power to say, nah, I'm good.
Take my money elsewhere.
Exactly.
But like you said, the industry is huge. Will that actually make a difference?
That's the hope. If enough people start voting with their wallets, it sends a message to the industry that we're not just passive consumers, you know?
Okay, yeah.
We have standards.
We want quality.
Yes. And we're willing to back it up with our hard-earned cash.
I like it. So it's not just about boycotting the bad,
Yes.
right? It's also about supporting the good.
100%. Like those indie studios that are pushing boundaries, the developers who are actually listening to their communities.
The games that feel like they were made with love.
Yes. And the video essay, it specifically mentions Dragon Age, Dreadwolf, as like a test case for this whole idea. Because those first 2 Dragon Age games.
Classics.
Right. But based on the marketing for Dreadwolf, I'm a little skeptical. Yeah, I get it. Like, I want to be excited, but...
It doesn't feel like the same heart is there.
And the video essay argues that it's prioritizing shock value over, like, actual substance.
Trying too hard to be edgy.
Exactly. And in doing so, alienating the very fans who made the franchise what it is.
The people who fell in love with the world, the characters.
Like they forgot what made those early games so special.
What are your thoughts on what that is?
I mean, for me, it was always about the characters, the relationships, that sense of, like, a living, breathing world that you could get lost in.
The world building.
Exactly.
And you're not getting that sense with Dreadwolf.
Not yet,
Yeah.
at least. And it's not just about nostalgia, right? It's about respecting the source material, the fans.
And the craft of game development itself.
Yes. It's about understanding that a successful game, it's not just about checking boxes or chasing trends.
It's about creating an experience.
One that resonates with players on a deeper level.
Creating something meaningful.
Exactly. It's like the difference between watching a movie that's technically well made,
Big budget, big stars, all that.
but the story just falls flat.
Versus a movie that, like, stays with you long after the credits roll.
Yes. And that's what's been missing from so many games lately.
That authenticity.
That feeling that this game was made for me, for us.
By people who are as passionate about it as we are.
Exactly.
So, realistically, how do we fix this? You mentioned voting with your wallet.
Yeah.
But the gaming industry is huge.
It is. It's a massive machine, right?
Yeah.
But every revolution, it starts with a single voice.
And in this case, that voice is amplified by every dollar we spend.
Or don't spend.
So you're saying there's hope.
There's always hope.
I like that.
It's like that quote, shoot, what is it? Something like, never doubt that a small group of people can change the world.
Indeed. It's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead, right?
There you go. You always know a quote. But it's true, though. It really does feel like it comes down to us, the players, to make a difference.
We have more power than we think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can feel like a David and Goliath situation sometimes. But even Goliath, he had his weak spot, you know?
Okay, that's a good point. So how do we, as players, as consumers, how do we make sure our voices are heard?
It's about being informed.
Yeah.
Being selective.
And not being afraid to say no, right?
Exactly.
If a game doesn't feel right, if it feels like it's sacrificing soul for, like, flashy graphics or whatever,
Don't buy it.
simple as that.
It might sound simple, but it's true. And, you know, this whole conversation, it's got me thinking about other forms of media, too, not just games.
Well, yeah, totally.
Like, look at that Star Wars show, The Acolyte. Huge budget, big names attached.
And it tanked.
Hard. And it makes me wonder if this imaginary audience problem, it's not just a gaming thing, you know?
No, you're right. It's everywhere. Movies, TV shows, even books sometimes. It's like this disconnect between what creators are making and what audiences actually want.
It's like they're speaking a different language.
100%. And it all comes back to that Margaret Mead quote.
It does. Change doesn't happen from the top down. It happens when enough people say, enough is enough, we deserve better.
And then they back it up with their actions, with their wallet.
Exactly. It's about taking back our power as consumers, as fans.
And demanding better stories, better games, better entertainment.
Content that respects our intelligence, our passion.
Our wallets.
Yes, all of the above.
Well said. Well said. Gamers, I think that's our cue to get out there and start voting with those wallets.
Make those voices heard.
Big thanks to Real Life Fake Wizard for the incredible video essay. You can find the link to their video in the show notes below.
Definitely check it out.
And as always, game on.
Game on.
But game smart.
And stay informed.
We'll catch you in the next deep dive.